Good morning and happy Saturday. So, this week I'm going to talk about more on the moisture routine and the importance of the porosity of your hair to determine how much you should moisturize. So, let's get further into that on this week's Locks Talk. Oh, today's going to be tough to record because it's later on in the morning on Saturday. So there's a lot more going on outside. Everybody's home. I'm probably going to have to do a million takes. You're probably going to hear some background noise, and I apologize for that. Now that that's out of the way, I'm working again from my workstation in the kitchen. Let me turn that around because I like my Black Jesus in the video. I'm recording out of my kitchen again this morning because Fridays I usually record, but yesterday I failed to tell my son that I'll be recording, so he came home early. I had an afternoon appointment that went late. I washed my hair, and instead of recording last night because I didn't want to record while it was dark, I went ahead and did this to my hair. I love it, It's a way of taking some length without actually cutting my locks. And I just wanted to feel a little bit lighter for a little while. So I lifted my hair up with a rope twist bob. And yes, I did it myself. Yours truly. But yeah. So I would like to welcome you all back to Locks Talk, where I talk about all things locks and loose natural hair. This week I'm going to talk about moisturizing according to porosity. Porosity is very important for the fact of knowing how much you need to moisturize your hair. And I just want to remind you that I will be reading along from my computer here that's in front of me. If you want to read ahead in my blogs, because after I'm done recording, I'm also going to write a new blog to post on there. So if you want to read ahead, you can go to my website at www.pammylockswithlove74.com and sign up for a membership, which is currently free. It won't be forever, so take advantage of it now. And read ahead, okay? So we're going to get on into this, all right? Let's go. Okay, let's get into it. And as I read, hello and welcome back to Locks Talk, where I talk about all things locks and loose natural hair. This week I'm going to get a little deeper into information in regards to your hair moisture routine. This talk is for all hair, not just locks. All hair. If you have loose natural hair or locks, it doesn't matter. This talk is for you. Okay? I want to first recap and talk about the hair porosity, what hair porosity is and why it's important to know. Oftentimes, we are told how important knowing your hair type, what your hair type is, right? But just knowing things like 4C, 3B, or any other of the 12 hair types that's on that chart does not provide enough information for you. Believe it or not, a lot of hairstylists and locticians are so annoyed with the fact that that's the only information people tend to go on when they need to know what to do with their hair. There are 4 factors that makes up your hair type. So let's continue into what I'm talking about. Remember the Locks Talk where I spoke about general hair education 101 and the 4 elements that make up your hair type: texture, density, porosity, and curl pattern? Of course, these 4 elements, the porosity is very important to know for a number of reasons, from how to properly wash and rinse your hair to enhancing your curl pattern, to the type and volume of moisture you will need to maintain and moisturize your hair on a regular basis. And today we're going to discuss the type and volume of moisture you will need to maintain a healthy moisture routine based on your personal level of porosity. So let's get more into that, okay? Now, before we get to routines, let's recap what hair porosity is, okay? Hair porosity is your hair's ability to absorb and retain moisture. There are 3 levels of hair porosity. There's low, medium, and then there's high porosity. Low porosity has lightly bound hair cuticles that lay flat like fish scales, right? And low porosity hair is considered healthy. It repels water, it's difficult to penetrate, and then which includes chemical processing and coloring as well. So if you have like low porosity hair and you go to dye your hair and you wonder why it didn't take, usually it's because you need to leave it on longer to give it time to really get under those cuticles and let the hair absorb it, okay? And it takes the longest to dry once moisture penetrates to your cuticles. So if you're a person who has locks particularly, and you wash your hair, you have low porosity hair, and you're like, oh my God, I washed my hair at 9 o'clock this morning, now it's 9 p.m. and my hair is still wet. Sign of low porosity. It's not always, because sometimes in cases it's because a person didn't rinse out everything out of their hair, but that's not always the case. If you have low porosity hair, that's also a factor, a major factor in your hair not drying properly, and you may need to use assistance like with a low setting of a dryer and sit under a low setting hood dryer, or for a while, just to allow the dryer to assist in helping your hair dry. Because if your hair stays wet for too long and there's too much moisture in there, then you can experience something that's called lock rot. Yeah. So I'm going to actually talk about, different things that can go wrong with your hair when not properly taken care of, whether it's loose natural or locked hair. But lock rot is going to be one of the topics. Now let's continue on. Medium porosity is the easiest to maintain. My hair is actually medium porosity, and it is pretty easy to maintain with moisture. And the cuticles are looser, which makes it easier to penetrate with moisture and water, right? And can retain moisture well, because it's not wide open, but it's open enough to let the water in, and it's closed enough to hold it in once it's in there. Right? Now, low porosity hair is often not low porosity, high porosity. High porosity hair, I got to change this typo on here. High porosity hair is often unhealthy and damaged hair. Very rarely is it natural to have high porosity hair. It's not very common unless there's been some damage done to the hair due to processing with texturizers or color or bleaching or heat damage and things like that, okay? The cuticles are wide open and they leave little to no retention in retaining moisture. Excess moisturizing is often needed the most for high porosity hair to assure the hair does not become excessively dry and brittle. So recently I had a conversation about bleached hair and how they had to increase moisture significantly because they've been experiencing a more dry texture to their hair, which is absolutely a result from bleaching hair. But they're taking the right steps to make sure that the hair retains and maintains moisture. So let's get further into it. So why is porosity so important to know? Let's read and find out. Why exactly is porosity so important to know for moisture routine? Said it on there too. Well, based on the description I provided for the 3 levels of porosity, a lot can be determined in order to make sure your hair receives the best level of moisture to keep your hair well moisturized and healthy. Let's start with low porosity hair. The hair cuticles are flat. This is what makes it hard for moisture to penetrate the hair strand and causes water to repel. So if you see like water beading on top of the hair, that often happens with low porosity hair. Not so much with medium or high, but low porosity, when you see the hair beaded on top of the hair, it's usually because it's low porosity hair and it takes more for the water to penetrate into the hair. Okay. Also, once the hair is penetrated, because the hair cuticles are flat, the moisture is retained for much longer, thus taking longer for the hair to dry. as I was saying before. The best products to use for moisture on low porosity hair is a water-based moisturizer that's very low in density. So something that's more watery, like a leave-in spray conditioner, refresher sprays, which I love to use from Peculiar Roots. It helps keep the moisture intact in my hair, right? And it also, you can always put other agents in, like with my refresher spray, there's wheat protein in it that helps strengthen my hair. It's also, and it's made with rose water, so that also makes my hair super soft. So yeah, those are really great things. So the best products to use for moisture and low porosity hair is a watery based moisturizer that's very low in density, which includes the use of any moisturizer in liquid-based form. Liquids such as moisturizing spray or water, as I said, will work best for low porosity hair. Heavy, dense leave-in moisturizers or thick and dense hair conditioners can cause massive surface buildup due to lack of penetration. And this is both for loose natural, but especially for locks. Because not only will it build up on the outside of the locks, it can burrow down into the locks and get stuck in there too and can't get it out. So be very careful with that, okay? The best time to moisturize your low porosity hair would be right after you get out of the shower. Now, why is that? The warm steam helps relax and open up the hair cuticles, so it's less difficult for the moisture to penetrate the hair. Moisture is well retained throughout the day due to its ability to retain moisture, and therefore once per day will suffice. I use Peculiar Roots Rose Water Based Refresher Spray to moisturize my hair. And I also use aloe gel too, right? Moisture is well retained throughout the day. I lost my spot. It's great for all hair, not just for locks, okay? So you can use refresher spray on all of your hair. It's easily great for low porosity. It's especially, what am I talking about easily? It's especially great for low porosity hair. To properly apply, spray a good amount into the hair, but not too much. You don't have to be dripping wet, okay? You don't have to use half the bottle. The mist will bead up as because it's repelling, right? But don't let it build up too much. Just enough. You see, like, you know, when you go outside and there's misty rain outside and you get that like light gray mist on your hair, a little bit less than that is fine. And then you're just going to massage it in using the ball tips of your fingers, not your nails. Never use your nails on your scalp. Remember I talked about bacteria that we can't see that lives on the fingernails. No matter how much you wash your hands, if you're not washing your hand like a surgeon, it's there, okay? And just massage it in to help penetrate it and get it into your hair. But the best time to do it is right after the shower because your cuticle's a little bit more open and you already got some of the moisture in there from the steam from the shower. So then you just massage it in, get a little teeny bit of conditioning oil, and you put it on there to seal that bad boy in, and you are good to go. Move into medium porosity, which is my hair. I'm medium porosity, yes. So medium porosity is the least challenging to maintain moisture. The reason is because the cuticle is open enough to allow moisture to penetrate the hair and is close enough to retain and hold on to the moisture. With that being said, for medium porosity hair, low density moisturizers and light thin moisture creams and gels such as aloe gel will be ideal to maintain moisture for medium porosity hair. And it does not take much to achieve this, so you ain't gotta be going ham with the stuffs. You don't, okay? The most productive time to moisturize medium porosity hair is during your morning routine when you're getting ready in the morning. It's fine when you get out the shower, okay? The warmer and drier climate you might live in, you might want to re-moisturize a second time at night before bed. I have medium porosity hair, so I use rose water-based refresher spray and aloe gel for my morning moisture routine and seal it with a small amount of conditioning oil. First, I spray my head. Next, I apply aloe gel to my scalp and hair at the root to retain moisture at the base of my locks. And finally, with the lowest density conditioning oil is a very small amount. So I seal in the moisture so it will last throughout the day. At night, before bed, I only use a little refresher spray, and I sleep wearing a satin lined bonnet to help retain moisture overnight. So like with the satin lined bonnets, it's not just to keep your hair neat and keep your hair from snagging on the cotton pillowcases and stuff like that, but because of the satin holds in moisture. So when I moisturize my hair before I put the bonnet on, it helps to maintain and keep, it's almost like a greenhouse where it keeps that certain level of moisture inside of the cap while I'm sleeping at night. Now, for some, that's not easy. A lot of times it's not easy for me because of the menopausal hot flashes that I might go through. Sometimes when I'm having a bad one, I just snatch that bad boy off my head, but I'm awake enough to put it back on once the flash passes. Oftentimes I'll sit up and allow the flash to pass, and then I'll put my bonnet back on and go back to sleep. I'm a light sleeper, so yeah. I do this nightly routine because I have color treated hair. So that's why I do it twice. If I didn't have color treated hair, then I would only be moisturizing my hair once. But my hair is not virgin hair. It's color treated. Now the hair up here that's growing out of my roots is virgin hair up to about maybe here. But all of this down here is definitely colored hair, color treated hair. When I started my locks, I used to dye my hair red. And then when I started allowing and embracing my gray hair, as you see here, because it's cute, I didn't want triple ombre hair. I didn't want gray hair and then black, you see the salt and pepper tweed up here, and then have all this red at the bottom. That was too much. So I went and got myself some organic black dye, and I recolored the ends of my hair black. But I only did it at one time, and in some areas you can see the red kind of peeking through again. Don't care, it's still primarily black, so we're gonna leave it at that. Finally, we're gonna talk about high porosity hair. Now this is important for people who naturally have high porosity hair, which is very small, subtle amount of people, but primarily people who have processed hair, texturized hair, relaxed hair, bleached hair. Uses a high volume of heat on your hair and things like that. The porosity of your hair has changed. Even if you have colored hair that's not bleached, the porosity has changed. Not as much as bleached hair, but it has still changed. So this is for you too. Pay close attention. Finally, there is high porosity hair. High porosity hair is the most difficult to maintain with moisture. The hair cuticles are wide open, which means the hair is penetrated quite easily and has the most difficulty retaining moisture. High porosity hair is often severely damaged hair caused by overprocessing done by bleaching, relaxer, perm, or dye with high volumes of ammonia. Now that's what I meant by dye. Dye that has high volumes of pneumonia, ammonia. Oh my God, I cracked myself up. I'm so corny. Don't pay me no attention. Okay. There are some with naturally high porosity hair. Very few, but there are some with naturally high porosity hair. It is important to maintain a consistent high level moisture routine to assure the hair does not become excessively dry and brittle. Higher density moisturizing creams can help the hair to retain moisture for longer periods of time. Also, deep conditioning with every wash will help as well. But most of all, be sure to seal in moisture with conditioning oil. And I don't mean to pack oil on, but make sure that it's part of the routine, okay? Don't overuse oil, because then you're going to develop scalp issues with psoriasis or seborrheic dermatitis and stuff like that. So I'm not saying like just go batshit crazy, putting oil in your hair. You don't want to do that either, okay? This is very crucial for bleached hair. Color treated hair or chemically treated hair, such as relaxers and texturizers. I see all too often people texturize their loose natural hair to relax the curl pattern, making it easier for them to maintain their hair. People often do this a lot with their children because, you know, they have kids with that's tender-headed and they want to be able to maintain their hair. But then they fail to be consistent in carrying on a healthy moisture routine. And shortly after they texturized their hair, it dries out and starts to break off. Then there is the blame game. The texturizer made my hair fall out. No, baby. You failed to do the moisture that was required to make sure that your hair didn't dry out and break off. It's in the instructions. A lot of people do not sit there and read all of that, but it's in there to make sure you maintain a certain level of moisture. It tells you, like X Curl is a texturizer, and you see all of these products that come with the S Curl. Who remembers the S Curl, right? You have all these other moisturizing products that you can buy separate from the texturizer itself. That's there because it's necessary. You need those things. If you don't use them, and water ain't gonna pull it, honey. Water ain't gonna do it. You need excessive moisture. So don't sleep on that. And then want to blame the texturizer for breaking your hair off. That responsibility and accountability falls on you. You have to be able to not just want to look and want to take an easier route of maintaining hair. You have to do all of this stuff to make sure that the hair stays moisturized and things like that. That is the downside of getting your hair texturized, right? So the texturizer didn't make your hair fall out. Your lack of moisture routine did. Make sure you are ready to do the aftercare before you actually do the deed to change your hair, is what I'm saying. The reality of it is some accountability falls on you due to failure of maintaining a proper moisture routine as part of the, and this is in all caps, required aftercare. And I can give you another example. So I'm talking to my Gen Xers and some millennials, because y'all probably saw it too. How many of y'all remember that movie Hollywood Shuffle? Written and directed by, what was his name? Robert Townsend, where it was a scene called the Jerry Curl, where Keenan Ivory Wayans, he had a Jerry Curl in his hair. And Jerry Curl is another processing that requires moisture, like crazy moisture. Now, a lot of y'all, including the Gen Zs and millennials and everybody, y'all saw Coming to America, right? The first one with Reggie and his family, how the Soul Glow just let you no. And they had to keep spraying their hair to moisturize, and their hair was dripping wet. Why do you think they have to do that? Seriously, extremely high hair porosity is why they had to keep having dripping wet hair all the damn time. Yeah, so keep that in mind. All right, so we've reached the end. Yeah, we made it. So no matter what, you are responsible and accountable, in the very least, for lack of moisture. So make sure you moisturize your hair. It does not require a skill set or a talent to style your hair in order to do it either. Maintaining moisture, it's spraying water, taking a little, and make sure you follow directions, especially if you have leave-in moisturizers. I've seen so many videos where people are showing the texture of it, but they still put in that big giant amount of stuff in it. You don't have to put that much stuff in your hair when you're moisturizing your hair. And also, when you're moisturizing, start at the end and work your way up to the roots. Never just be like this, and because it's all just right here. Don't do that. Put it on your hand and section off your hair, starting at the end, right? And detangle it, then run your fingers through it. Same moisturizer still on your hands, and just go further up the hair as you get closer and closer to your root. When you're using higher density cream leave-in moisturizers and stuff, okay? It does not require a skill set, as I said. All it takes is a few minutes of your time every day and consistency to maintain your moisture to your hair. It takes less time than it does to brush your teeth in a lot of cases. You don't even have to buy expensive products to maintain moisture. Just be sure to learn your porosity in order to make sure you use the right volume of moisture when you're moisturizing your hair. And if your porosity is one way with your virgin hair, if you process your hair, it will change. So make sure that if you do anything that's going to process your hair, such as bleaching, perming, texturizer, or whatever you decide that you want to do with your hair, make sure you recheck your hair porosity so that you can maintain your moisture according to that. Okay? Because like even with me, with my color treated hair, my hair porosity remained the same. It's still medium after I colored my hair, but I still increased my moisture just a bit, just to make sure that, because I have dye in my hair, that I maintain a certain level of softness and to my hair. So I still increased my moisture by a tad, because I don't use a lot of moisture when I moisturize my hair. So again, thank you for joining me this week for another great Locks Talk discussion about hair porosity and its importance in helping you to maintain a healthy moisture routine for your locked or loose natural hair. I hope the information that I have provided you with this week you find very useful and helpful in maintaining a healthy head of hair. Reminder, if you need to know how you can find out what your hair porosity is, please read my blog, General Hair Education 101, or view it here on YouTube. I'm actually going to, at the very end of this video, I'll put that up as a reference video for you to watch, okay? There you're going to learn about the 4 elements that make up your hair type, because there's more to it than just 4A, 4B, 4C, 3A, 3B, whatever. The 4 elements that you need to know about your hair type would be texture, density, porosity, and curl pattern. So those are the 4 elements that make up what your hair type is, okay? And like my 3B can be different from another person's 3B. That's why you need to really understand what the 4 elements of your hair type is, okay? So, you can look at one person's hair and look at another person's hair, and they look like 2 totally different hair types, but they actually are the same hair type. It's just like the levels of the different 4 elements may be different. They may have more of a curl pattern for one, and the other not so much. Texture could be thicker on one and, thinner or finer on the other. One can have higher density, the other can have lower density, but it's still a type 3B, is what I'm saying. So don't assume that every person that has 4C hair or 3B hair or 2A hair has the same looking hair. They don't. You have to understand those different 4 elements that make up the hair type in order for you to understand that you can have the same hair type, but in different ways. Okay? I will be back next week to talk about more stuff. I think we're going to talk about scalp sensitivity, because there's more to it than just simply being tender-headed. And we're going to get into that so you understand what I mean by that, okay? So thank you again for joining me this week on Locks Talk. I wish you a happy and healthy hair journey from my chair to yours. Bye.